Candice and Bethany, two sisters bound by blood, yet divided in ways they never truly understood when they were young. From the beginning, their home wasn't always filled with laughter. It was often filled with arguments, comparisons, and the quiet distance that grew between them. While there was love, it was buried under years of competition, like two plants trying to grow in the same small patch of soil. Candice was the firstborn, the child who came into the world and made her parents parents for the very first time. She carried their hopes and expectations without even knowing it. Every little achievement, whether it was her first steps, her first words, or her school results, was noticed and praised. Everyone looked at Candice as the example, the one to follow. Then came Bethany. She was loved deeply too, but her story was different. By the time she arrived, the first times were already gone. She was the second to walk, the second to speak, the second to be celebrated. Slowly, she grew up noticing that she was always compared to her sister. If Candice did well in school, Bethany was asked why she couldn't do the same. If Candice was responsible, Bethany was reminded to follow her lead. Neither of them asked for this, but over the years it shaped them. Candice became the serious one. She tried hard to always do the right thing, to live up to the picture everyone had of her. She carried responsibility like it was a part of who she was. But deep down, she often felt tired, wishing she could let go, even just for a little while. Bethany became the opposite, loud, playful, sometimes reckless. She refused to follow every rule and pushed back when people expected her to be like her sister. To many, she looked like the difficult one, but really she was just tired of feeling like she would never measure up. Their fights as children were loud and frequent. They argued about toys, clothes, and who got more attention. But the truth is, they weren't fighting over small things. They were fighting to be seen, to be valued, to feel equal. As they grew older, their rivalry grew too. In their teenage years, Candice was the dependable daughter, the one teachers trusted and parents leaned on. Bethany was the free spirit, the one who laughed the loudest and broke the most rules. They couldn't have been more different, and in their differences, the distance between them widened. Candice often thought Bethany was careless. Bethany often thought Candice was controlling. Their words to each other grew sharper, their silences grew heavier. And though love was there, it was hidden under layers of pride and hurt. But life has a way of teaching lessons that no one asked for. One winter, their father became ill. Suddenly, the house that had always been noisy with their arguments grew quiet. The air was heavy with worry. Both sisters found themselves standing in the same storm, carrying the same fear of losing someone they loved. Candice, as always, stepped in quickly. She took charge of medicines, appointments, and the endless responsibilities that came with caring for a sick parent. Bethany struggled at first. She didn't know where she fit in, didn't know how to help without feeling like she was in her sister's shadow once again. But slowly she began to find her place. She ran errands, helped in the kitchen, and sat quietly by their father's side in the evenings. And something began to change. Candice started to see that her sister wasn't careless after all. She noticed the quiet ways Bethany helped, the moments of comfort she brought when words were too heavy. And Bethany began to see her sister in a new light too. Not as a bossy rival, but as someone who had carried too much responsibility for too long. Grief and hardship have a way of softening walls. And in those months of illness, the wall between them began to crack. When their father passed away, the house filled with silence once more. But this time, Candice and Bethany didn't sit apart. They sat side by side. For the first time in a long time, they weren't fighting each other. They were holding on to each other. It didn't erase the years of rivalry. It didn't magically heal every wound. But it was a start. In the months that followed, they found small ways back to each other. Their fights didn't completely stop, but they ended quicker. The silences between them weren't as cold. Slowly, laughter began to return. Not the forced laughter of children competing, but the easy laughter of sisters learning to be friends. And that's the real lesson hidden in their story. Rivalry may shape the early chapters of a sibling relationship, but it doesn't have to define the ending. Beneath the anger, beneath the comparisons, there is always love. It may be buried, it may be bruised, but it's still there, waiting to be seen. If you have a sibling, take this to heart. Don't waste time on rivalry, resentment, or petty fights. Learn to love your sibling. Build a friendship with them. Protect that bond because it's one of the most valuable relationships you will ever have. Life becomes so much easier when you have someone who has known you from the start, someone who can stand beside you through joy and hardship. Too often, people love strangers more than their own family. They argue, compete, and grow apart from the ones who were with them from the very beginning. Candice and Bethany's story shows us that it doesn't have to be that way. Choose to see the love beneath the rivalry. Choose to forgive. Choose to build a friendship with your sibling. And one day you will look back and realize that what you have with them, the trust, the understanding, the shared memories, is one of the greatest gifts you will ever receive. Candice and Bethany learned that lesson the hard way, but they learned it nonetheless. And in the end, they discovered that nothing else in life could compare to the bond between sisters who choose to love each other.